Yes, the NLI, the name, likeness, and image.
Other than that, he was flawless.
Oh, yeah, he was. And we've heard other coaches, we've heard Jim Harbaugh talk about, revenue sharing, that part of it. Mm-hmm. This is the time, I think the first time we probably heard somebody talk about all aspects of it. And the only thing I don't like that wasn't spot on is not going to, sell the name to these conferences to Amazon or Nike or Adidas. That's stupid.
I think his point was just, hey, if you
there's a lot of money to be made.
Yeah.
I get it. And yes, you're 100% correct, Chip Kelly, when you talk about, hey, if Notre Dame can be independent in football, but in a conference and everything else, then yes, everybody else should follow suit and be independent in football, have a conference or have a commissioner over those that are in the top echelon of college football, and then everybody else in the next division down, fine with that.
I love it on so many levels. I don't know that people are really putting a lot of thought into what's going to happen to softball and lacrosse, but he does solve that issue because those teams play 2 and 3 times a week, and now you've got these weird geographic misfit conferences. Just let them play regionally. Stay in the Pac-12 if you're out in California. Stay in the Midwest and play if you're like Illinois lacrosse, whatever. That's not the top of everybody's priority list, but it was explained tactfully, like with consideration to all sports, because that's sometimes where this gets messy. For football, yeah, put the best in the best, have them go head-to-head, play each other, settle it out, and make sure that the student athletes are getting compensated in all of this, and it doesn't turn into what NIL has become, which is like panhandling. It's like these donors and boosters, or the university is sitting there with like a tin can and go, we need to keep our roster together. I mean, how far away are we from, boosters and even just regular fans? Hey, here's the tin cup so we can keep our team. There's enough money in the sport already via TV deals. Allow it to properly go to the players so that we don't have the wild, wild west that we have right now.
Right. And all you have to do in terms of scheduling is, you're not going to have as many games as the NFL has, but you have more teams. Go NFL style. All right. You have your division. Okay. We're going to get rid of conferences. We're all going to be in one. But if you're going to be 64 teams, there's got to be some semblance of organization and control. So like he had mentioned there, hey, we're going to play all the teams on the West Coast. Michigan, you could keep basically your same opponents. It does open it up to some other ones. Like if you want to play some teams that are traditionally in the SEC or in the Pac-12 or the Big 12 or whatever, as long as they're in that 64, then you could play some of those teams. But regionally, we want to keep those games going. And then when we get to the playoffs, now all of a sudden, hey, instead of maybe instead of a 12-team playoffs, maybe it's 18. Maybe it's whatever number. I'm just going to throw that out there. But you have an opportunity then to decide who is the best of that 64.
If you did, just doing this on the fly, 64 divided by 4 is 16. You could do 4 pods of 16. You could have the winner of each pod make the playoff.
Yeah, I don't like the word pod. I mean, can we call them divisions?
Divisions.
Okay.
The winner of each division, fine, makes the playoff, and then the rest are wild card. I mean, you could cut it up even more fine than that. You could do divisions of 8.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm open to it. I think it makes a little more sense than the mess that I would call the sport today. Like, John, yesterday was National Signing Day. And, like, what a farce this has become. You've got guys like, and there are players, you can't even celebrate your recruiting class because half of them are going to end up in the portal in a year anyway. It feels that way anyway.
Yeah. I mean, the timing of it is terrible because the transfer portal is open for a month in college football. That's basically the month of December. It closes on January the 2nd. All of these kids are signing with their program, and you have no idea if they're going to bring in another individual from who's a junior from some other program to be the starting quarterback, to be the starting right tackle, the defensive tackle, the safety, whatever it is. And now all of a sudden, hey, you've just signed on the dotted line. You've committed to this university, and then all of a sudden, come the new year, there's a logjam at your position. There are going to be some kids that have just signed on the dotted line that never go to that school. They're going to hit the transfer portal before they even go. And if you back up National Signing Day to, let's just say, the 2nd or 3rd of January, you still can have early enrollees. Schools can get that done in a matter of a couple of days. They get you in class, they get you enrolled, all that stuff. And so you can have that. Well, I'm not a big fan of the early enrollees anyway, but you could still have that. You then, as a commit, know more of where you're going and what the situation is. Coaching carousel is, for the most part, settled by that time.
Yes.
You will have the transfer portal will be closed.
So you'll know what rosters
you'll know where
what.
they're going, what they're doing, all of that stuff, because they also have to get enrolled in school. So if they can do it for the transfers, they can do it for a high school senior. Now all of a sudden you have one day in early January.
Right before classes start.
And instead of this December time and then, oh, wait, we're going to do it again in February. Well, does anybody even know? Can you sign in between, or is it only on that 24-hour period? Like, that's where all of this has gotten completely junked up. Have it in January. Get rid of the 2 days. Make it so that if you want to be an early enrollee, it's fine. If you want to know who's going to be on the roster, you can, because the transfer portal will have sorted itself out. Coaching carousel, all of that stuff will be done. Can you imagine signing on the dotted line, then all of a sudden, hey, your coach is coaching through the bowl game, and then at the bowl game, the whatever bowl game is today, Syracuse and
South Florida.
Right. All right. Let's just say, for example, Dino Babers is relieved of duty tomorrow morning.
Well, he's already gone, but yeah.
But
hypothetically, whoever the acting coach is, yes.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, so you've just signed, they fire him the next day. Now you're locked into going, and if you want to transfer, you got to burn your transfer before you even go. You only get one.
I think your point here is well taken, because it's whether it's the coach or the portal, you aren't really sure what you're committing to when you commit on National Signing Day, the first of the two. So, yeah, I'm with you. Bump it back. Couple ticket texts. This one says, you guys are smoking weed. Next year we'll be arguing about which 2-loss team will be left out. 12 is too many. When is the season going to end? March, ? Here's my deal. We will always argue about the last team in.
But that's really not the point of this conversation.
Not at all what we're talking about. But just to address that, I don't think there's going to be any sympathy for the 12th team that gets, or the 13th team that gets left out, as opposed to an undefeated Florida State or some of the issues that we've had in the 4 team.
That's going to all be about the brand. Yep. If it was this year, what was it? Was it Tulane? Somebody in the South.
Yeah, Tulane had a great year.
And so it was whoever the highest ranked group of 5 would have been
Liberty
in.
would have been.
Liberty.
Yeah.
There we go. So Liberty would have been in, and a brand like Oklahoma, who was ranked 12th, would have been out.
But if you're Oklahoma,
nobody cares.
You lost multiple games. No one cares. No sympathy.
And to the point about when's the season end, hey guys, we haven't done anything for a couple weeks now.
Yeah,
it
just
takes
keep
a
it going.
Could have been playing. It's a good point. Let's knock out a couple phone calls. Let's go to Matt in St. Clair Shores. Matt, how you doing this morning?
Hey guys, listen, I think the solution is pretty in our face. Why don't all these big power football teams make their football team a club team, like the soccer team, like these fringe sports, and then let that club team, like the club teams do, get sponsorships, these NILs from the local community, from the boosters, whatever, and then you let the revenue team or the non-revenue teams stay in their athletic department, like Chip Kelly said, and then you completely just remove the football team from the athletic department and you let it run as kind of one of those quasi-completely autonomous entities, and it brings in its money. It pays a licensing fee back to the university to fund the non-rev sports, but the big teams can just, or big schools can just move their teams to make them autonomous. And that can be the division or the conference or the whatever Power 1, Power 2 of schools, that can float it that way. And then you just keep it as is for the Power 5 right now or the Group of 5 now. So the big 25 to 30 schools that can basically spin off their division, they can do it. They run their own way, and it completely saves all of the other non-rev sports, and it completely saves regionality for basketball even, because do we really need to see guys fly 5 hours for a 1 hour basketball game or girls for that point?
Right. Yeah, I think it's a little tomato whether you do the club thing or the independent thing. The goal is the same, to isolate football because it is its own animal and they only play once a week. The TV money is astronomical. It is its own entity already. It's just, can we make that in actuality a little easier? Terry in Brighton, you're on 97.1.
Morning, Jim. Morning, John.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
So I love the idea of the 64-team playoffing, but at the same time, we kind of saw it this year with JMU. You can go undefeated and you're still out just because you're an up-and-coming team. I'm worried that if we go to a 64-team playoff, what prevents, how do we let the little school in when they're coming up?
Why do they have to be let in?
Because, you like to see fresh competition. If it's an up-and-coming team, up-and-coming coach, up-and-coming players, why not?
Terry, what if you
give
did
them the opportunity?
John might roll his eyes at this. What if you stole from soccer? You did relegation. The bottom, handful of teams in the 64, they get left out, and the best teams in the next group of 64 can win themselves into the upper tier.
Yeah, but then you're just playing for the G League, essentially.
Well, listen, I went to a MAC school. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I know what they are.
Yeah, but so it's like JMU. Do you think if they played Alabama, Michigan, Washington, Texas, Oregon, Georgia, what do you think they're going to be able to do?
Well,
or
the point would be, let's see, Boise State beat Oklahoma.
Okay, how many times do we have to see that and somebody gets their butt whooped before we could just admit that? Why do they have to have a seat at the table?
Right. To your point, John, we're not clamoring for a G League team to enter the NBA. We're not clamoring for an AHL team to enter the NHL.
Right.
Or a Division I AA team to move up to the FBS division.
Yeah. JMU, if you want to go, I don't have any problem if you want to go to a bowl game. Just because, if you've moved up to D1, that's fine. I think that rule is stupid. But I don't need to see JMU in the first year in Division I football and FBS football to go against Alabama.